welcome to the Sports Countdown podcast with me, Peter Lynch, and Declan Hughes. This week in sport, there's only one thing to talk about, and that is Rangers winning their 55th league title. And for that reason, we have my very good friend Calum Keys joining us today. So, Calum, thanks for being here.
Yep, pleasure to be on.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And also, just quickly, a huge shout out to Freelance Football Ops. They're on Twitter, LinkedIn, really busy, helping people through this tough time by posting sports journalism, sports media jobs, helping people out. And they can be found at FF Ops on Twitter, and as I said, LinkedIn as well. They're really good there. So I can already see Declan, the Celtic fan, gritting his teeth in bit of rage there because it's not a great time for him, but he got his voice heard last week with the Celtic podcast. So this week it's all about Rangers. So I'll try and be peacekeeper if I have to, if things get a bit feisty. But well, hopefully they do. We'll see what happens.
We know where your allegiances lie, Peter. Don't kid yourself on, son.
Like I've got my, I have to be impartial here. You know how it is. So straight into it, Calum. 10 long years waiting for a title finally happening. How does it feel?
Brilliant. Unbelievable. It's brought me back to thinking about when I was a wee boy, helicopter Sunday, we beat Hibs and running down to Ibrox with my dad, and to see them, the team come back to Ibrox and there was a big pitch invasion, and that's the sort of memories that I haven't been there for 10 years. And then, this season, it's been unbelievable. It's back to the Rangers that I grew up with, and it's unbelievable scenes. Great result against St Mirren, and great result over the season.
Mm-hmm.
Nice, Callum. Just wanted to ask you, mate. What do you think the difference has been like this season under Gerrard compared to maybe his first two? I mean, they've looked good under Gerrard through even the first two, but just kind of seemed to slip off a little bit. Obviously last year at the turn of the year, it kind of went a little bit wrong. The first year, I think they just weren't ready. He was still kind of taking over from Pedro Caixinha's team. So, in your opinion, like what's been the difference for Rangers this season to make them so consistent?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference this season is mentality. Really, I think tactically it's pretty similar. When I think back to when Gerrard first came in, watching him even in the European qualifiers, you could see against teams like Maribor that the quality had been up from the previous two seasons. Under just in that first couple of months under Gerrard. But I mean, last season I think they were good enough to compete. They could have won the title, but I think they didn't have the mentality. This season you've seen it. They've just, as a team, they've just focused on it. Gerrard said in his interviews, staying humble until it's won. And that's what he did, and I think it's just that mentality, that winning mentality they've got. You can look at games as well at teams like Livingston. If you watched this, even against Livingston early in the season, a lot of possession, but not really doing anything with it, passing about the midfield. But if you watch them in that last game against Livingston, so much more urgent in their play. Watching McGregor, he was demanding that they just went a lot more direct. And you could see that, those little tactical tweaks really made the difference. And then the mentality, I mean, go back to the Motherwell game where they were playing two banks of five against us, so hard to break down, but it just kept pushing and pushing. And you could see that winning mentality was there with the team. And that, I think that's been the biggest difference this season. But yeah, definitely the last two seasons that they were capable, but that's been the biggest difference this season.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned some games where maybe last season or the season before the Rangers maybe wouldn't have won those games. Maybe would have drew with Motherwell playing against the two banks of five. It's obviously easy to say how bad Celtic have been this season, but I think we've just discussed that there's been a noticeable difference in Rangers this year. So they deserve all the credit that they deserve for winning the league. What about recruitment this season? Like, there's been some decent, maybe even at the tail end last season in January when you guys have brought in Hollander come in, Balogun's come in, and then striker wise you've brought in Roof and you brought in Itten. So do you think that's also made a difference this year, made the group overall more strong, and there's rotation in there? So, for example, if Morelos was maybe playing bad last season or the season before, you're looking at bringing on like Jason Cummins. Like, no offense to him, right? But you're Cummins on. Whereas now we've seen through Roof and Itten that they're both capable of doing it for Rangers. So do you think overall the squad being more balanced and more depth in it has helped as well?
Absolutely. Well, I even like talking about that Motherwell game again. It was bringing Cedric Itten on. He scored the winner. He brings something different. Morelos Morelos does score with his head, but I think Itten is a bit bigger, a bit more physical presence in the box for crosses and things. So definitely that side of the recruitment. But I mean, I think since Gerrard's come in, the recruitment's went up a level. Looking at the first signing, Alan McGregor, what a difference he's made in terms of leadership to the team, but as well as being a top class goalkeeper. So I think the recruitment over the past 3 seasons has been unbelievable. But I do agree, like this season, bringing in your Roof and your Itten as backup, Balogun, yet again another solid centre back. I think he came in because Katic was injured, but I mean he's been a phenomenal signing without having to be a replacement for anyone. So definitely, even bringing in younger players like Bassey, he's definitely one for the future. So they're not thinking about just this season. We're thinking 2 or 3 seasons ahead. So I think recruitment this season, but overall Gerrard's full tenure has been one of the biggest pleasing aspects of his time at Rangers.
Yeah, I mean, briefly, then you mentioned Alan McGregor, and then you also brought Steve Davis back as well recently. So both of those guys have been here before, and they've won the league, and they know what Rangers is. I'm sure they knew the significance of this season and how important it was from a Rangers point of view to stop 10 in a row. So I think, as you pointed out, these kind of key experienced players, in my opinion, definitely had a big impact in the dressing room and even on the field. As you say, both of them have been standouts for Rangers this season, especially.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm literally just read about Stevie Davis there. He's keen to stay for another year. So class news for me, for Calum as well. So that's class, yeah. You just mentioned there things that, had a potential impact and changes, in Gerrard's time, mentality, recruitment. But I think one thing that is, has definitely changed has obviously been a lack of fans in the stadium. I know there's a lot of fans celebrating over the weekend, you included, but I'm sure you were sensible enough to stay away from George Square.
Of course.
You
got to look after yourself.
Absolutely. So, yeah, and also, I mean, I hate to remind you, but hopefully it changes. But I know, you're keen to get to Hampden for the Euros this summer. Again, no fans at the minute, but as I say, hopefully that changes. But yeah, we'll see what happens there. But going back to Ibrox club football, do you think that has had an impact on Rangers this season? I know it's the same for a lot of clubs, every club obviously, but do you think it's especially different for a club like Rangers?
I think if you've got 50,000 at Ibrox, it's going to, you're playing against Livingston. It's not going to benefit them in any way. It's going to benefit Rangers. Playing in front of 50,000 fans is always going to benefit the home team. But I think Rangers have learned to adapt to playing in front of no fans. I think it's it just shows the quality of team that's there, that they can play at that level without fans. But I mean, I think any team would rather play in front of a full stadium than wouldn't. I mean, if we look at last season, we'd look at us playing Porto at home and think we beat Porto at home, and a lot of that you would say is to the fans. But then Benfica came this season, and they couldn't beat us without any fans. So I think the fans always make an impact, but it just shows you the quality of team that's there, that even without that support, they can still do it on the pitch.
Yeah, spot on. I think Liverpool themselves, as a Liverpool fan, we've been subject to a lot of poor performances because of a lack of fans, so we need them back as soon as possible.
Let's knock this down a little peg or two then, since we're being so positive about Rangers. So Gerrard, Calum, I want to ask kind of you both of this since he likes the Rangers and Liverpool. But Calum, Gerrard, he said 3 good seasons at Rangers. Obviously, noticeably this one, winning the league again, 2 like last season as well. Great performances in Europe. You're in the last 16 again. So do you think maybe there'll be clubs? Well, I'm sure there'll be clubs like sniffing about for him in like the Premier League and what have you. Maybe even Liverpool. So do you fear maybe that how well Rangers have done the last few seasons and obviously achieving something this great that Gerrard might decide to maybe go? I mean, it's a good time to do it if he wanted to. Like, I think he'd be wished all the best. But do you think you could see him staying for another few seasons, getting more experience under his belt?
I think he'll be here next season, no doubt. I think he'll want a crack at the Champions League, and to defend the title. He's not had either of those things with Rangers yet, so I'm sure he'll want that challenge. He was just interviewed before we came on here saying that he gets all these links to Liverpool and he would love the Liverpool job, but he doesn't even know if the fans of the board would want him. He says he's a fan. He wants Jurgen Klopp to stay at Liverpool as well. So I don't know. I think he wants to continue at Rangers for the next couple of seasons anyway. Obviously, he'll go to Liverpool one day. I'm sure of it. I don't know if there's a club big enough though outside of Liverpool that he would want to go to right now. I mean, we talk about Rangers and Celtic up here. 2 big clubs, and once you're up here, you understand how much it means. So I don't know if there's a team really big enough to actually take him away other than Liverpool. But obviously, we'll see what happens. I think he'll be here for a few seasons anyway.
Pete, your opinion on it? You're obviously said you're a big Liverpool fan. Sure, you idolised Stevie G growing up. Let's say Klopp resigned, or I heard links today Klopp might go and take the Germany role or whatever.
Yeah.
So if this happened, right, I know it's your worst nightmare. If that happened, would you be looking at Steven Gerrard, given what he's done at Rangers in Europe and in the league this season? Would that be something you'd consider, or do you think would you go somewhere else if that happened?
No, I mean, you took all the words out of my mouth. Like, he was my absolute hero growing up, and you said it. My nightmare would just be to see him come to Liverpool and fail, and like end the story. Honestly, because like looking like Lampard, same generation, Chelsea legend, and look what happened to him. Alan Shearer a few years ago. I'm not sure you remember. A lot of people don't remember. He was at Newcastle as a manager because it didn't go well. Dalglish at Liverpool again, another one. I mean, you hope they can do their best, but he's obviously always going to be loved at Liverpool. Gerrard, like, no one can ever hate him, of course. But I just don't want, simple as that, I don't want them to come here and ruin his reputation. But you mentioned Klopp there. It seems like all the dominoes are falling because obviously Joachim Löw's left Germany. I honestly think Klopp is well suited to take over Germany. I think it's his next job in football management will be the German national job. And obviously Liverpool aren't doing well at all at the minute, but to even mention the words Klopp and sacked in the same sentence is shocking for what he's done for Liverpool. So we need to settle that down. But Callum mentioned it there. I 100% he'll be at Liverpool someday as a manager, but I hope it's not anytime soon, to be honest.
Yeah, it gives me the fear people linking Henrik Larsson to the Celtic job, because if that went wrong, I don't know what I'd do with myself. It'd be heartbreaking if it came and it went wrong. I mean, it can go either way and it might work perfectly, but there's part of me that just never wants to see anything like that happen, But anyway, let's get back on track there.
Enough of this.
Calum, standout performances this season. We've mentioned some of them: McGregor, Davis, but those guys are a little bit older. What about Morelos, Kamara, Kent, Hadji? Like, see these kind of guys. Do you see a lot of clubs maybe looking to come in for them now that they've had a real standout season? I mean, I'll just say Morelos has been exceptional in Europe, especially for Rangers, and that's where you're probably going to get noticed a little bit more because I mean, like they don't really rate the Scottish League a lot down south and elsewhere. But when Celtic Rangers players perform in Europe to a high level, that's when you get that most notice. So do you fear maybe you might lose a couple in the summer?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, Gerrard said himself, Morelos plays well in Europe for one reason, because he knows it catches the attention. I look at even the Euros coming up, Kamara, Barisic, they're going to be playing for Finland and Croatia. There's going to be scouts all over those games watching. So there is a fear, but that's where, the hope is we get into the Champions League next season. And the players, are they going to get that at a Crystal Palace or I was going to say West Ham, but they might get that at West Ham next season. But, a Crystal Palace or a Fulham, Champions League football to a lot of players is the dream. So hopefully that would turn some heads to stay. I think Morelos, when I look at Gerrard and the way he dealt with Suarez at Liverpool, he asked Suarez to stay for one more season, and I feel like it's maybe similar with Morelos now as a manager. He said to Morelos, stay for one more season, win the title with us. So I don't know, he might be out the door, but as I say, if the Champions League comes along, why would they not want to go and score, goals in the Champions League group stages? But then I think you look at the base of the squad. I think a lot of those players will stay. I can't see players like Tavernier or Goldson leaving. I think they've been solid, and I think they'll want to play the Champions League. I think players like Ryan Jack. So there's a good foundation at that squad there that I can't see leaving. But yeah, guys like Morelos, he's got his eyes set on big things. So who knows? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, 100%. But as you say, if there's a strong backbone there, and I think the main one would be Gerrard. To be honest, if he stays, anything can happen. You talked about the Champions League, but back onto the league, we've obviously seen Celtic dominating for years now. It's finally over. I think, I do need to mention though that the current standings. I think you boys need to correct me if I'm wrong, but it's currently Rangers 55, Celtic 51. So
that's correct.
So yeah, Celtic have a few titles to catch up on, but I mean, they've had their 9 in a row. Rangers had their 9 in a row, back in the day, late 80s, early 90s, I think. And then, in between then, it's kind of been 1 or 2 here, 1 or 2 there, either way. I think they both went 3 in a row each at a time,
mm-hmm.
In the just after the turn of the century, I think. So, if that group stays there, can you see Rangers going on a run like Celtic have done, or what's the story?
I won't be singing about 10 in a row for Rangers anytime soon. I think, I think this season's been great. Rangers have shown they're back. They're going to go for more. The staff are all talking about, we want more. So that certainly there's a mentality there again that they want to continue. But I think across the city, they don't want this to continue. So it'll be interesting to watch what happens there. But I think the team's there to keep winning titles. I think we can certainly look at next season. Right now, we would be favourites, which will be a different way to approach the season. But I don't want to get ahead of myself, because I know that there's certainly across the city it'll be looking at stopping us going 2 in a row to start with. So you see what happens. I think if we keep building though, bringing in young players that are obviously going to grow into good first team players, then we can certainly keep challenging and keep winning. But we need to wait and see. I do hope that in 9 years' time we'll be looking at our 10 in a row. But it's getting ahead of myself. I think we'll keep focusing on getting to and getting into the Champions League as well. I think that should be the main focus for next season. Getting back to where we belong.
When Rafa's here next season, Gerrard will be off anyway, so we don't even need to worry about that, right? Calum, we like to do our countdown on this show. It's in the name. So for you this week, we've obviously discussed that it's been a real team effort for Rangers, winning the league. I think they're well organised. I think every player kind of knew their role, what to play. So it all kind of ticked and went well for them this season. But we want to know, there's obviously been some standouts. We've talked about that already, individual players. So we want to ask you your personal top 3 players of the season for Rangers. So we'll start at 3 and we'll work our way to your number 1.
It's a tough question, by the way. I try to come up with 3 players, man. That's hard. But I think my number 3 would have to be the captain. Would have to be Tavernier. I think you know, he's been there for 5 years now. He's had so much criticism for some of his performances, but I think he's shown this season that he is the captain. He's the leader. He's really driven the team on. I think when he needed a good start, he was the best player to the start of the season. You know, I think he maybe has dropped off. He's been injured the last couple of games. He kind of dropped off a little bit after Christmas. But I think the majority of the season he's been a standout player. He's really, he really drove the team on. You can hear the players just now because there's no fans. You can hear him shouting. Go, 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 and things on the pitch. So he's certainly been a major influence in the challenge this season. So I think he'd probably be my number 3 this season. Number 2, I'll have to give it to your man, Pete. Yes. Stevie Davis. He's been Mr. Consistent. You know, he's been there and done it. I think he's came back to the club and as we said before, he knows what it means. He's, in terms of attacking, he's been the playmaker. He's created a lot going forward. I think, you know, when we've needed a breakthrough, he's been the man to kind of build it from the midfield. And yeah, again, he's a leader on the pitch. He's not a guy. He's not loud. He's not, you know, the one that you're gonna, you know, is gonna be making all the jokes. But he's certainly the man that's always there, always ticking, just keeping the team going.
Yeah, definitely.
But number 1, I think the biggest thing for Rangers this season has been clean sheets. So I think it has to be Connor Goldson. He's been just the consistent man at the back. Yet again, a leader, him and Tavernier. I think together the two of them have just been, you know, co-captaining a lot, just spurring the team on. But I mean, to concede 9 goals in 32 games in the league is pretty incredible. I think the record I heard was something like Chelsea conceded 15 in a season. So going at a record like that, you know, he's just been. I think he came in Gerrard's first season, and you know, he again, somebody that's had criticism, but like, it's hard to criticise him this season. He's been there I think he's played every minute for us. So he's certainly been my player of the season, I think. Obviously, you know, I'm missing out a couple of big names there, but yeah, they would be my top 3.
Yeah, I mean, you said it was a difficult question. Like, it has been an unbelievable season, but picking 3 players out of that team, out of that whole squad, is near impossible, I would say. But I think you did a pretty good job, to be fair. So well in.
Yeah. I think it's difficult.
Yeah.
Pete, you're going to come out the closet and guess your top 3 now.
Stevie Davis, number 1. That's it.
Aye.
I mean, he had a tough start. Like, I remember when he came back, and he's just completely turned it around. And you know, as I said earlier, he's going to stay, I think, for another year. So it's obviously really good for Northern Ireland perspective. So because we need him playing every week at his best, which is what he does. So fingers crossed he does that. But yeah, that seems like a perfect place to end it. Calum, thanks so much for joining us. Really enjoyed that one. Really appreciate it.
No, it was brilliant. Thanks for having me on, guys. Really enjoyed it, and I'll look forward to watching some future podcasts from you.
Top man, and yeah, hopefully the celebrations, you know, hopefully they continue, but hopefully they can actually happen at Ibrox or wherever it can be, as soon as possible, in the bar, even anywhere.
Yeah, well, I texted my dad the other day. I said, I hope we can celebrate this before the Euros come along.
Yeah. We'll see what happens, but yeah, fingers crossed. And Declan, yeah, I know that wasn't easy, so thanks for your patience there. And you know, we'll leave Rangers alone for a few weeks. Don't worry.
I think we're done with football talk now for a while, right? We'll do something a little bit different next week.
Yeah, perfect. Well, everyone at home, wherever you are, thanks so much for watching, listening. Thanks for all the support. We really appreciate it. Please just keep watching, liking, sharing, following. Yeah, you know the drill. And we'll be back for more next week. See ya.